All right. The last thing I want to talk about now is the combination of UX and Agile. Okay. Now, when most designers are learning their process and learning their craft, almost all designers get taught something like this, right? This is what the design world calls the double diamond model, and you can see there's two diamonds here. There's this first diamond here, discover, define, and then there's this second, develop and deliver. And the idea is that each of these diamonds, the first part of it is what you sometimes hear called divergent thinking, right? You're generating lots of ideas. And then the second part of it, you're coming together and making decisions, convergent thinking. And the sort of understood traditional idea of design process is in the first diamond, you're figuring out what the problem is. And then in the second diamond, you're figuring out what the solution is, right? And this works really well for certain kinds of design problems. It works really well in sort of traditional industrial design. This is Raymond Loewy's famous locomotive, and it works really well in print, right, where you're figuring out what you're going to do and then you're finalizing it. And both of these kind of traditional design, or generally traditional design, is about getting something ready to go to manufacture, getting something ready to go to the printing press, right? But one of the things that we've discovered in the software world is that those models don't apply in software where there isn't manufacture and printing. There's just sort of continuous design and development. This model, this double diamond model, doesn't work so well. And I think this was sort of the catalyst for the Agile movement, which looked at this problem and said, look, we need better ways of developing software. And what the sort of generically, the process model for Agile looks like this. It's a continuous loop. It's not a linear double diamond or triple diamond or whatever. It's a ongoing inspect and adapt loop. Now, that works really, really well for certain parts of the design process, right? That Agile loop. It's pretty obvious how you adopt that Agile loop in the kind of at the surface layer, right? You're making shippable stuff over and over and over again. It's not that different from making code, just in terms of process. It's less obvious how you do it as you start to push down the layers, though. Because the wireframes are sort of structural and they represent the whole system, not just one little part of it, right? Very hard to take wireframes and think of them as little increments, right? And it's even harder when you're doing research and strategy, because research and strategy is really not incremental. Strategy is a kind of a holistic practice, right? So when you've got things that lend themselves to increments, Agile seems very obvious. How do you do it? When things are less incremental, it becomes more challenging. And so I've been doing this work of sort of bringing design and Agile together for close to a dozen years now, trying to figure out methods that make sense. And what my colleague and co-author Jeff Gothelf and I started writing about some years ago was this idea of lean UX, okay? And lean UX is a way to bring the design process to Agile processes, okay? And it's an iterative process. It's based on the sort of lean startup, build, measure, learn loop, right? And it's holistic in that what you're doing is you're starting with a business problem. Then you name your outcomes. Then, as with lean startup, you identify your assumptions. You write a hypothesis, and you make an MVP, an experiment to test your idea. Right? And that can be a small, usually iteration of the product or of some idea in the product. Then you get out of the building and you test it with users. And this is where the user experience part comes in. You're validating your ideas with users by getting out of the building. Then you come back together. You make sense of it as a team. Remember at the beginning I said user experience is a team result. So you make sense of what you've learned as a team. And then you make your decision. What are we going to do, right? Inspect and adapt. And you do it again, okay? So Lean UX is one of the ways that you can bring design to Agile. And so when you overlay the Lean UX process on top of an Agile process, in this case, overlay it on Scrum, what you see is there's this kind of iterative rhythm in Lean UX that matches very, very well with the kind of sprint structure that is the basis for Scrum, okay? So I'm interested in your questions and thoughts. Tweet at me, let me know what you think, let me know what questions you have. Happy to hear from you. Thanks very much.